Good morning. Good morning. This is Valerie Leonard, the founder of nonprofit Utopia. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I think it's so befitting that it's a nice raining morning. We've got two super gardeners here on the show with us. And what do they say? April showers bring May flowers and all of that stuff. But we're going to be talking about resilience. And I think gardening is a wonderful way to find out how resilient we are. And before we get started, I just want to give you an overview of how the show came to be. Peter and I were talking the other day. He is one of my clients, and we were just engaging in small talk, and he was talking about how the pandemic has impacted the work that he does. So he's the founding executive director of the Stein Learning Gardens of St. Sabina, and he was preparing the organization's third season of gardening when the COVID-19 shutdown hit Chicago. He was telling me how gardening supplies and materials were just delivered, schools were closed, and everybody was sheltering in place. And on top of that, the organization was in danger of losing a $90,000 grant. And this could very well have jeopardized the program that is serving over 150 youth on Chicago's South Side. So we want you to hear about how Peter, with the help of Orrin Williams, the executive director of the Center for Urban Transformation, successfully pivoted the organization to the next level of growth. And in so doing, we're going to be viewing one of their videos and talking about the work that they do even beyond the pandemic. So I just want to say thank you guys for joining me. And before we get started, again, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves? And Peter, we'll start with you. And then after that, we'll hear from Orrin.
Sounds great. Valerie, thank you so much for having us today. You mentioned the rain. I'm actually covered in rain from being outside in the garden. We're doing a food and garden kit giveaway today. And it was so beautiful out yesterday. We wish we had that weather today, but the show does go on. That's something in farming that you just have to do. You work whatever weather, whatever you're in. So farming in itself is a resilient practice. And there's a fresh example. A little bit about myself. I've been in the what I like to call the intersection of urban farming and youth development space for a little over 10 years. Spent a lot of time doing that work in Rogers Park with two organizations, Let's Go Chicago and A Just Harvest. Passions of mine are healthy food access, food affordability, and seeing neighbors and children and families come together and grow food. And that's where I center my work is on being, how can we as an organization, as a team, be a resource to assist our neighbors in growing and producing and ultimately eating really great food produced right here in Chicago. I've been at St. Sabina since April 2018. I love this community, love the people I work with, the work we have going on. We say every day we'll come to work, until someone tells us not to come to work, and we hope that, like we saw last year, we hope to never have to face that. So we're always looking at ways to keep going, and we're doing that today, right now.
Yes, indeed. All right, Orrin.
Good morning, all. Thanks for having me, Valerie, with Peter here. Besides being the executive director of the Center for Urban Transformation, I'm also the food systems coordinator for the Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion. And that's a program out of the Office of Community Engagement, Neighborhood Health Partnerships at UIC. So Peter and I have been engaged for a couple of years now.
Wow.
In 2019, I shared a curriculum that I was developing called Grow Your Groceries. And we decided we were going to do some work together last year. And in fact, I show up at Stein Learning Garden so that we can begin to do the work we're going to do and that we planned last year. And once I arrived, I may have been there 10 or 15 minutes and I get a call to evacuate, go home. The pandemic is upon us, and you are to go home immediately. It's like, oh, okay. But in the interim, there was also this swirl of activity, and I'm really happy to talk about how resilient people are, and our communities are, and our organizations are. And so we came together with some other folks, and out of that emerged a program that I'll let Peter talk more about. But also came out of that Chicago Grows Food, which is a hashtag and a website. And so the work that evolved there was really exciting. And I think we touched more people than we actually probably would have if we went along and did the program we originally had planned. So, and we find that to be a space where we will hopefully be able to expand, and particularly expand the number of people who garden at home and or in community gardens in particular, and want to make sure to let people know who may be watching and or listening that we consider home gardening to be an extension and also included in the food system. So it's just as important as urban farming or rural farming or anything else you can imagine. The opportunity to grow hyper local food is exciting, and offers the opportunity to get some of the best food you're going to eat throughout the year.
Okay, great. So, Peter, can you tell us about the Stein Learning Gardens of St. Sabina and let us know how you got started? I know you kind of touched a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah, we are really a gift from the Stein family to the community of Auburn Gresham and St. Sabina Church. The late Barbara Stein and her husband Sheldon Stein were interested in doing some philanthropic work. They were looking for a cause to support, and they actually saw Father Flager on TV and thought, they liked what he was saying, liked the work that he was promoting, and wanted to help out. And Barbara called the rectory, I think it's like about 5 or 6 years ago now, asking how she can help. And what came from that was a scholarship fund that her and her husband fund, $10,000 a year for 4 years of college for students that graduate from St. Sabina Academy. And of course, go on to high school, but they have to stay connected to the church community and do work and do service in the community as a part of the scholarship. And some of them actually help out in the garden. So they had that going for a couple of years. Barbara is a lifetime educator. She's also a lifetime gardener, grew up in Hyde Park. And her next legacy gift that she offered a few years before she unfortunately passed was to fund a startup garden program at St. Sabina Church for the children of St. Sabina, and by extension, the children of the community. We came in with that, with her support, but also a lot of feedback from the various departments, the school, the community center at St. Sabina, the Elders Village that's right on our campus, to understand, what kind of programs would make the most sense here. And in our first year, very fresh on the scene, we saw 150 kids a week come through the garden.
Wow.
And 15 to 20 seniors come out to cook and to grow and cook food together. Although that turned into more us cooking food for the seniors, like it was a cooking show. But we loved it. We loved responding to that need, and we just joke with them all the time that we're their personal chefs, not their collaborators. Yeah, so that's how we got started. And when you think about what impact the pandemic has on garden education programs, both what we're doing and happening citywide and community gardens even, it was a real shock to our system in March to get the stay-at-home order and have to quickly think, how do we go from serving 150 kids a week to doing something that matters, that justifies us getting a paycheck, justifies, coming to work every day. And I remember sitting in the parking lot with my team and Orrin on that fateful day, and we all were looking at the soil and seeds and just thinking, huh, what what are we going to do with, we saw all the materials to do the work in person, and we had to go home and reflect on that, what the next step was.
Okay. And we'll talk more about that. We want to hear a little bit about Orrin and his programs.
Well, we have a program at UIC that is an extension of the work we've done with Peter and other organizations. And this year, we are what I call reimagining victory gardens, if you will. So we are working with community groups in North Lawndale, and Inglewood and Auburn Gresham. So
Awesome.
what we are doing is we're working either in community garden spaces or in backyard spaces. And our focus is using fabric grow bags that we use to mitigate a lot of the problems you have in urban communities with poor soil quality and soil contamination issues. So that's the program we shared with Peter, and that's what he did with that is establish the program that gave out the grow bag kits. And we like to say that we can show you the curriculum, we can teach you the curriculum, and then you adapt it to your personal and or organizational needs. So and this year we're going to establish backyard gardens in Inglewood and in North Lawndale, and also in Auburn Gresham. We've got a site that Peter's going to do, and we're working with Growing Home and Stein Learning Garden and Grow Greater Inglewood and different entities in North Lawndale. So we're really excited about that. And UIC, through our program and our director, is actually chipping in funding to support the work, and we'll be providing grow bags and soil and other things for people in the programs that we'll be working with this year. And next year, we hope to expand the program even further to include more folks. This year is a kind of a pilot year, and then next year we hope to expand it greatly.
Okay, so those grow bags, I can remember working on the community garden in North Lawndale years ago, about 20 years ago now, the African garden. And when I was doing the research, I noticed that some of the gardens in Africa were actually in these bags. They look like burlap bags or something like that. Is that a similar concept, that the grow bags, similar to what they're doing in Africa?
Well, that's a great question, Valerie, because what they do in Africa actually is what we use as inspiration for our program. And so we thought we would replicate that. And then we went and got coffee bags, burlap bags, and we were going to fill them up with soil. And I realized how big they were and how much soil that would require, and how stable they are once you put them in place. You're not going to be moving them around. So I did research and found the grow bags, which come in sizes between 1 gallon up to 100 gallons or more, actually. But our focus is 3, 5, 7, and 10 gallon grow bags for most of the stuff that we do. I was trying to find one, and then I realized I wasn't on mute too. So I didn't want to ramble around too much. But they have handles, and they're made of fabric, and they are relatively inexpensive. I think Peter and I were digging around doing research, and I got 20 bags for like $32.
Wow.
And then, the soil, and you use potting soil and all of that. And you have to make sure you got the right kind of soil. But then other than that, you have to just keep an eye on them. They do require watering. They do require fertilization. and they work. So
Right.
we really encourage people to not be discouraged because of soil issues and fear of contamination and that sort of thing. So, and there are farms, and I've seen operations that have 25, 30,000 grow bags and sitting on land that otherwise is unproductive. So I'm
Wow,
excited about the possibilities.
that's exciting. And you know what? I'm thinking that might be a good segue to share a video that you guys put together. If
Sure,
you,
Valerie, can I jump in and say something real quick before that
uh-huh.
video gets shown? So, what you're going to see on the topic of resilience, what you're going to see in this video, and what I'm really excited about when I reflect on last year, I've been looking at emails. I've been like trying to figure out dates when certain things happen because it's all kind of a blur. Um, but what we did last year was all done with existing resources. We really did look at that problem of we have soil, we have seeds, we have curriculum, we have plants, we have all of those resources on site, and we can't get them to, we can't have people come to the site and start thinking, where are people already going to receive things right now during the pandemic? It was very early in the pandemic, so leaving the house was a nervous experience. Still is, still should be.
Yeah.
But we partnered with CPS food giveaways. So we knew families were coming to pick up food, and with Orrin's expertise in the grow bags, it just made perfect sense. Put the soil in grow bags, pot up some plants, and get them out with the curriculum to our two students around the city. So you're going to see that process in this video. But I want to really underscore that, sometimes the solution is right in front of you, and it's about, how do we weave the resources together in the right way, rather than give up on, we have resources, but we're not really sure how to make them work in a new context. So everything we did came from stuff that already existed.
Awesome. All right. Is it okay to start now?
Yeah.
People would always say, "Oh, I want to do a garden. I want to go in this lot, and I want to do this stuff." And then the mantra myself and other people would always recite would be, "Oh, soil's poor quality. You live in the city. It's the Rust Belt. You've got to deal with soil contamination and all of that." And then people would go like, "I'm done," right? Then, like just from doing research, I found the grow bag, the fabric bag you see here.
When the stay-at-home order started, a group of us got together on Zoom. We started having weekly calls, initially just to share advice. But as urban farmers are prone to action, that quickly turned into a plan to get to work. At St. Sabina, we had materials stockpiled, potting soil, seeds, stuff to get plants started with. And with this group, we realized we had a wealth of people that were really ready to make digital content and start supporting students remotely. We thought, what if instead of waiting for the kids to get back to the garden, we used what we had to bring them a piece of it? And that's what started Grow Your Groceries and the Chicago Grows Food Project.
Oftentimes the soil may be contaminated with lead because of the buildings or the structures that may have already stood there before they were taken down. So we ended up getting pallets and pallets of soil delivered here to Stein Learning Gardens in our parking lot. We have these five-gallon mesh cloth bags. We get the soil delivered here to St. Sabina. We grow the seedlings.
We start these plants and then we distribute them out to different neighborhoods and different communities where we have unique partnerships with schools.
I actually planted on my stoop, because I don't have any growing space, a whole garden with the bags, because I started to understand that I don't need green space to be able to grow food. And so it inspired me, and I'm also teaching other people because I'm on a very visible street corner.
I'd love to see people kind of use this Grow Your Groceries campaign as a way to kind of become addicted to gardening. Like having your first grow bag, having that first tomato that you grew yourself, and then realizing, oh my God, like, there's nothing that compares to this.
collard greens. This guy down here is basil. This is a cucumber. Whoa, 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 whoa! Calm down. Get more than one cucumber.
It's important for other kids to do it because they can get the experience to do it, and maybe when they grow up, they might want to do something just like it for the community.
Kids around the neighborhood really want to grow things,
It's so
and
cute.
they can't because of this COVID-19 thing. So it's a good opportunity for them that can bring them home, and when they're ready to eat, pick them off, rinse them off, then eat them. Enjoy them in anything.
Since the project began in mid-June, we've been able to deliver at least 1,500 grow kits to families in 24 neighborhoods across Chicago. And
So
we're just getting
it's a
started.
good
When we get this
opportunity
one
for
kale
them.
plant into a family's hand and it goes into their backyard, we don't believe that that's solving the problem. But we do believe, I personally believe, that that's starting a conversation about the access to food that we have into our community. So when we realize that it's unjust to not have access to healthy food, then we could continue to ask the powers to be and demand from the powers to be to give us access to healthy food.
I like to double back to the folks we gave bags to, train them on, how to do this in a deeper way. And the expectation is you teach somebody in your family, your neighbors, whatever the case may be. And that becomes the source
Awesome.
for real expansion of container vegetable bank.
That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. What I like about that is, not only are you looking at food as an issue for nutrition and gardening, but you're also looking at it as a social justice issue. Listening to some of the people commenting. Have you had a chance to actually get engaged in some of the policy work around agriculture and urban gardening?
I'm sure the answer for Orrin is extensive. You want to take it for that first, Orrin?
Yeah, I probably do a lot more of that work than Peter does. So, we're engaged with several groups, and in fact, we were on a call just before this one with UIC and partners like Urban Growers Collective with Erica Allen and other folks. So, and we've been doing policy stuff for a while, and we were part of the team that put together the Chicago Food Policy Action Committee Food Justice Summit this year. So that's just an example of some of the stuff that we do. And part of my job too is to sit on health and wellness task forces and work with other groups like Inner City Muslim Action Network and the Fresh Market that will be opening there at 63rd and Racine this June if things go as planned. So again, just some examples of the collective work that I do. And I've been involved in this stuff for a few decades now. And in fact, somebody said I used to be the crazy uncle in the attic because nobody thought that you could do urban farming and do all this gardening and that kind of stuff. So, and now like I said, we've just zeroed in on the home front, not in opposition to anything else, but being inclusive of the total food system, if you will.
Okay. So, Peter, getting back to why we're here, that fateful day in March 2020 changed. You left off basically saying that you had all of this equipment, right? Everything for gardening, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do next? So you want to continue that story?
Yeah, so precursor to that moment, Orrin touched on this earlier. We had been working throughout the winter, first going through the training for trainers with Orrin's Grow Your Groceries curriculum, and then planning workshops on site that were going to be make and take workshops. So people would would come learn some of the Grow Your Groceries curriculum about safe gardening, different practices, what you can plant, when to plant it, and they would make some kind of planter. We have a wood shop as a part of our site, and take that with them with healthy soil in it, with some healthy plants from our greenhouse, and that was our 2020. Those were our big plans, to do these public workshops. We call ourselves the Stein Learning Gardens because we, of course, teach children. That's our kind of bread and butter, what we're mostly focused on. But we also want to be a resource for home gardeners, both informally and formally. We have a lot of people come by and ask us for tips or for tools or plants or soil. And the Grow Your Groceries workshops were going to be our big foray into really announcing to the community like that we are here for this. This is what we want to be. And the pandemic certainly made that difficult. So I call it it was such a wild day for me personally. My daughter was born April 8th, my first daughter. I was on paternity leave, and her birthday is, I keep saying April 8th. She was born on February 8th.
Okay.
So not today. So she's 14 months today. And I was splitting up my paternity leave. So I was gone for 5 weeks. I came back with the intention of getting my team prepared for the summer. And then I would go back. I had 12 weeks available to me, and I'd go back and finish out my leave. I never went back. I came back for 5 weeks, left for 5 weeks, came back. The end of that first week is when this day happened. So I'm fresh back in the saddle, like, hey, it's spring, let's get going. Orrin shows up, soil shows up, and he says, we're ordered to go home and not go outside. So it was a real, emergency brake had been pulled, and you had to shift into, evolve or die mode. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the pandemic. I would love to go home and spend that time with my daughter, but I felt the need to be there to make sure that we pivoted in the right way to stay alive as an organization, to secure our funding, and most importantly, to keep serving the students and families that we work with. It was that was the other heavy lift for us. So one was, what do we do with the resources? The other is, how do we stay in touch with our students and families, and what do they need right now, and what part of that can we provide? So the Gardens to Go, the Grow Your Groceries kits, that was like the light bulb moment. We can stay in touch with our students. We can use the resources we have. We can still partner with Orrin. He's working from home. He can do curriculum and remote support. So really, we turned something that looked really dark into a big win. And once we gained traction, we just kept going, and we're still going. I keep thinking we're going to take a break, but we're still doing it, aren't we, Orrin?
Yeah. Okay. So, Orrin, what was going through your mind, as one of the partners who was going to be helping that day?
I was just in wait and see mode, and like I said, the energy from last February and March, when all this stuff unfolded, was remarkable in terms of the innovation and creativity that different people in different spaces, not only this particular space, had, and it makes me positive and optimistic about the human future, if you will. So I had no real expectations, but just wanted to roll my sleeve up and see how I could contribute to whatever unfolded. And of course, you saw evidence of what that was. So just glad to be available and be able to work with this great group of people.
So, Peter,
Valerie, I wonder if I could talk about some of the other folks involved.
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yes.
So another interesting part of the origin story was, as you can imagine, this was not just an existential moment for us as garden educators at St. Sabina, or Orrin as the food system coordinator at UIC. It was a shock being felt certainly throughout all of society, but within the urban gardening community in Chicago, a lot of people were like, what do we do? What's the next step? And sometime, I think, beginning of April, Orrin and I started hosting open conference calls where we invited farmers to come, growers to come. There were 2 calls. One was for growers to come and talk about production techniques. Are you setting irrigation timers to limit the amount of people on site? Do you have access to your site? That conversation was happening. And we had another weekly call that was all garden educator focused. And that started as water cooler talk of, swapping ideas, saying, I'm using this website or this tool to reach my students. It was kind of informal. But pretty quickly it snowballed into, hey, wait a second, we all have different strengths and weaknesses in our positions and like our current circumstances with our organizations. Let's work together to get these grow kits out and support students around the city. Our organization only works, for the most part, we had only worked on St. Sabina's campus and a little bit in the greater Auburn Gresham area. So we didn't have relationships citywide in terms of supporting CPS schools and other gardens. And that group, which included a number of organizations, Open Lands, Healthy Schools Campaign, Big Green, AM Root Builders, Orrin's organization, the Center for Urban Transformation. Orrin, help me out. I don't want to miss anybody here. Adjust Harvest up in Rogers Park. I know I'm missing some. I'll try to fill them in, but we came together and said, okay, yeah, let's do this. We have different things to bring to the table, and we formed the name Chicago Grows Food as a collaborative heading, and started to do the distribution work and education work under that shared heading.
That's awesome. Orrin, did you anything you want to add?
Yeah, kind of funny story too, though, in just a few seconds. But Peter started looking at names and decided Chicago Grows, but then when he looked, it was taken by the cannabis growers. So. Yeah, it's Chicago Grows Food.
Yeah, that was an Instagram thing because we wanted to get the kits out, but we also wanted people to use the hashtag Chicago Grows Food on their social media posts to kind of flood social media with images of people growing food at home. We're all separated. We can't go to the community gardens together, so we wanted to create an online gathering place. And Orrin's 100% right. I typed in hashtag Chicago Grows to see if anything was there, and it was all close-up pictures of cannabis flowers, filling the whole screen. And many of us are educators, elementary to high school educators. So that was that's why we went with Grows Food, to be clear.
Let's be clear. You didn't need any angry parents, right?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, I needed that laugh. Forgive me for not being the most professional. I like a good laugh every now and then. Thank you. That was good.
That means you're human, Valerie.
Yes. As we see, we got a comment here. Floyd Turner is watching and listening. He says, I love this. Floyd happens to be my brother-in-law. He works nights, so he had a chance to check us out live, and he is into gardening. He learned gardening from his mom, who is from Mississippi, and every year he has some wonderful fruits and vegetables that he likes to include in family dinners. So thanks, Floyd, for watching. If there are others who are watching, you have comments, you want to share about some of your experiences gardening, your experiences with resilience over the past year, we'd love to hear your stories and comment and bring you into the conversation. And I'm just wondering, Peter, with the past year, I'm sure you've had to pivot a lot. You're doing things that you probably didn't expect that you would be doing a year ago. So how have you pivoted in the past year because of the pandemic?
In a lot of ways. So, first of all, like I mentioned, we mostly served St. Sabina's campus. So getting out to think it was about 36 different community areas with the grow kits, and becoming a manufacturing hub and a delivery service. That was a huge pivot for us. We had to borrow a van from a car dealership. We had to, deal with shipping logistics and figure out how to plan what to get from where, and move through challenges where the thing that we needed wasn't available. At one point, Orrin, you probably remember this, we were looking at, could we sew grow bags, because grow bags became unavailable temporarily.
Wow.
And Orrin actually found a pattern for how to do it. Now, the story doesn't end the way you hoped it would. We didn't end up having to do that, but we were at that point where we thought maybe we'll be just far enough along the edge that we're going to sew grow bags to make this happen. So we didn't do that. Learned a lot about shipping logistics. We pivoted to, so we asked ourselves 3 questions at Stein Learning Gardens when the pandemic hit. We said, who do we serve? What do they need right now? And how can we get it to them? And that was a big shift for us, because we had one idea of what we offered to the community. And in this emergency natural disaster situation, what the community needed was more important than what we established ourselves to give.
Wow.
So the first 2 months of the pandemic, we were actually delivering box lunches to 8 senior buildings in Auburn, Gresham. We had an opportunity to get 3,600 meals donated a week, and said, we serve seniors, and seniors need food right now. So that's what we're going to do right now as we figure out our next pivot. That kind of ran right into the Grow Your Groceries rollout. And by the time we started doing that, we understood that we were filling bags with soil every day, calling teachers, calling schools, and getting them out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what are some of the lessons you've learned, Orrin, about this pandemic and this particular situation?
Well, again, it's the innovation and creativity that exists in our neighborhoods, for one thing, and having an optimism about humans' capacity to rally in the face of adversity. So for me, those are the general outline lessons. And even at Chicago Partnership for Health Promotion, we have different teams and interventions. And I love the fact that one of the teams that I didn't have a lot of interaction with Pete Stack and his schools team, they stepped up as well and helped find schools that were interested in the project and in the program and that sort of thing. So we got to work with folks that we hadn't had the opportunity to work with before. And again, just excited about what the possibilities are moving forward in the communities that we're targeting this year, but beyond in future years.
Okay, great. And Peter, we talked about financial resilience. What are some of the lessons you learned about financial resilience during this time?
Well, one thing I learned is if you're going to nearly double the amount of funding coming through your doors to fund a special project, that you should ask for money to pay for the administrative costs of doing that. We served as a fiscal sponsor for this project. Initially, we wrote some small grants and then won some bigger awards, and things were happening so fast moving that the collective decided we weren't really ready to create our own independent entity or form a fiscal sponsor relationship with another entity that could do the back office stuff. So one of my financial lessons learned was, people kept saying like, wow, it's so great we're going through the Stein Learning Gardens, because very little money is getting cut off the top to cover administrative and overhead. And we realized, 6 months in, that the reason that was happening was because we were just sacrificing the overhead and the administrative. Lovingly, though, like I don't have regrets about that. But if you ask about lessons learned, that's something that was learned. think it was probably 90% of the resources that came in went directly to buying materials for grow bags. Our model became raise money, buy materials, put out grow kits, rinse, wash, repeat, do it. We got out 3,800 kits, and there's over 300,000 students in CPS. So,
Wow.
our mission is not over. And that's kind of the ongoing financial goal, is to continue to find both in-kind and financial resources to make it happen for more students.
Yeah, this to me
Valerie,
sounds like.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
I didn't mean to cut you off. If I can add, on the home front in terms of financing, what I grow here, I have enough to share at home, but sort of between mid-June and mid-October, I only spend $15 to $20 a week on average on produce.
Wow.
And that's only because I don't grow grapes, and I don't grow watermelon and cantaloupe and peaches and that sort of thing. So that's typically what I spend money on. I have plenty of vegetables, if you will, just from the work that we do in our small spaces here at home, which is the other outcome we were looking for in terms of creating the Grow Your Groceries program, is to help people save their food dollars, if you will. So just wanted to mention that real quick.
That's great. And you touched on a couple things. The fact that you're helping people to grow in small spaces. Usually when you hear pushback, one of the first things people say is, I don't have enough space in my yard. So you've addressed that issue. And as I listen to you and Peter talk, this to me sounds like the making of a social enterprise beyond the nonprofit service. Any thoughts about that, or is that something you're still thinking
Well, when
about?
Peter mentioned the grow bags and so on, and we actually had conversations about why aren't we making these in Chicago? So where are the folks with the sewing machines? And
I have a sewing machine. I used to sew a lot.
Yeah, and recreating those loft spaces or whatever the case may be, where people could come in and have it be worker owned and all that, cooperatives and all that stuff too. So that's part of our thinking. But just also in terms of gardening, how come we're not capturing some money from bigger entities whose name I won't mention, as our people go off to those spaces to buy plants and soil and seed and all of that. So what about local enterprises that focus on that? So that's just some of the thinking that we've been kicking around for over a year now, right, Peter?
Yeah, I'd add to that we have very strong interest in some kind of like buy one, give one model. We piloted that in the mid to late summer, early fall last year, and the main reason that didn't take off is because we were focused on emergency relief. Like this isn't a kit that grows enough food to feed your family to the point that your food security is taken care of, but it is relief in terms of social emotional learning for kids, family bonding activities, something to fill time with at home. That was one of our goals at the beginning. But we decided that our capacity last year needed to be focused on getting these into the hands of students that their families weren't going out to the garden centers to purchase these materials. We wanted to really prioritize youth on the south and west side in particular. And we did have not to say that there are ubiquitously barriers to access all around the city. We did have families that received this as a gift from the program and then came back and said, hey, I got so excited, I went and got 5 more. And, now we're doing 6 of them at our house. Or my daughter and I just built a raised bed because we were so excited to grow our own food. So we really hope to be that, spark and that inspiration to do more. This is Amante Campbell from our program said in the video, this is the start of a conversation, and it's an opportunity to begin a dialogue about growing and how to grow more and what's going on in your household, what your interests are, and how we can support that, and how the whole collective can support that, because there are amazing people throughout the entire Chicago Grows Food Collaborative.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the collective. I don't know if you have access, but I think when you and I spoke a couple weeks about it, I believe you showed me a map to show me where all the people are. I don't know if you have time, or if you have that at your disposal. We'll give you some time to look for it. But I was really impressed with how many people or how many different organizations were involved and you were able to touch. Is that something that you can share? I know that's not something we planned. And while
Yeah, no, I'm looking for it right now. Actually, I think I can pull it up.
Okay, all right. And while he's doing that, Orrin, what would you suggest? For people who have never done this before, what are some of the first steps they could take?
They could get in touch with us, and we are planning to launch classes, if you will, a couple of times a week on Zoom.
Wow.
And we will go through the curriculum that we share with Peter to kickstart what we wound up doing. But that's part of our charge this year, is to offer Zoom classes for people who would like to explore this and perhaps begin gardening. So that begins, I believe, on April the 26th. So if people reach out to us, we will make sure that they get access to those events. And we plan on doing them at least through June, and perhaps pick them up in the fall, because the other thing that people will learn is that you can begin gardening as early as in April. And if you have other things that can assist you with season extension, you can grow year round. I mean, we uncovered some stuff a couple of weeks ago, and we still had greens that were thriving after the February we had. So
wow.
So no, that's just get in touch. And Valerie, I don't know how you manage that, but people can reach out to us, and we'd be happy to respond and work with people.
Yeah. What's your email address and phone number? Yeah.
It's ORRINW. Can I put it in the chat here?
Yeah. Put it in the chat, and it should show up for everybody. And I can also highlight it. That might be a private chat.
Okay, so I have to copy it over to the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you copy it over to the comments, or you can give it to me, I could type it and then highlight it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mine is
it looks like I can't go into the comments.
Yeah, this is a new platform for both of us. So
okay.
It's ORRINW@UIC.edu.
Okay, so I posted that in the comments, and I can also create a banner so people can see it.
That's it. You got it.
All right, great. Peter, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's see if I can share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take me just a minute to change a setting.
Okay. Orrin, is that correct? I want to make sure I didn't have any typos there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Valerie, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to share my screen. It would require that I restart the browser, which will kick me out of here.
Okay. Is there a URL you can give me? I can check it out.
Yeah, this should work.
Mm-hmm.
Drop that in the chat.
Okay. Bear with me.
And you're going to want to go down to the, I'll give you the number of the slide.
Okay, you posted the URL there?
Yep.
Okay, so far I don't see it. I just see my comment.
It's in the private chat. I can't go into the comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
Got it. All right. And for the listening audience, thank you so much. We really appreciate your patience. I always, this is not something we planned. We're just doing this on the fly. And
Valerie, while you're getting that up, just to vocalize it. So our website for the collaborative is chicagogrowsfood.org. We're also on Instagram at Chicago Grows Food. We're on Facebook too. You can find us on Twitter, but we don't say much on Twitter. Maybe we will in the future. If you go to slide 11, that will show the reach of the program, the geographic reach.
I'm trying. Okay, let me put this in present mode. Wow, that's huge.
So 37 community areas. We haven't set a goal for this year. We'd love to get, closer to 77, but 37 we feel is a good start.
That's huge. 37, and we have 77 community areas. So this is the map you shared with me. Are you able to see the map?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you guys were able to touch all of these people within the past year.
From May to October of last year.
That's absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right.
And we're still doing it. If folks watching are interested in bringing this to their community, please reach out to us through the contact information that Valerie shared. We are looking for more distribution sites and happy to connect with more organizations. We're up to, it says 12 in there, but I think we're up to about 14 project partners at this point. Okay. So get in touch if you're interested. We're ready to work with you.
Okay, Peter, can you share with me your email address? I want to type it. I know you said it before, but I want to type it and post it.
Yes, it is peter@sabinagardens.org.
All righty. So if you want to contact Peter, oops. That's
one T.
Oh, you would never know my mom was a typing teacher.
It's okay.
Oh, let me correct that. All right. Peter@sabinagardens.org. All right, this is awesome stuff. Awesome. And I want to thank you guys for joining me and taking time out of your schedule. Any parting thoughts before we go?
For me, real quick, it's about growing groceries, but it's also about engaging with food, but also engaging with nature. So we offer opportunities through our teammates at UIC to teach nutrition and cooking demos, and a lot of our partners do the same sort of thing. And so take advantage of these opportunities and re-engage with your food, but also re-engage with seed and plants and nature.
Okay, great. And before we go, if there are any comments, any questions from our audience, please share. And I would like to share those on screen. Any comments, any questions? We'll wait a couple minutes to see if you have any comments or questions. If you want to share any of your experiences with urban gardening, any of your experiences with resilience. All right, so far, no questions, but again, Peter and Orrin, thank you so much. This has been so informative. I will definitely let people know about what you do. And I hope that you guys can come back and give us an update. I think it'll be really interesting.
Be happy to, Valerie. Thank you for having us.
All right.
We absolutely would. Thank you so much, Valerie. Just remember, everyone, if you're growing food, put hashtag Chicago Grows Food on Instagram, and we'll put it on our website and add you to the community. I always have to remind people of that. We love to see your photos.
And remember, you don't need a lot of space either. You got back porches, you got different things you can do. You saw the lady in the video who did it on her stoop. So reach out to us and we'll share ideas with you. We love to work with folks. So thank you. Thanks again, Valerie.
Okay. Are you guys open to doing a workshop on video?
Yes.
Live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
We probably should do that soon because, this is growing season, right? We're getting ready to kick it off.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. And you take
We'll look forward to coming back. Thanks so much.
No, absolutely. Valerie, let us know and we'll put something together for you. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's plan on doing that. I don't know if you could do it within a couple of weeks because I know the growing season is getting away from us. If we could
yes and no.
Okay.
Like you. So we're ready to go here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's time.
All right. And Peter and I are going to be talking soon anyway. So let's do it. It's got to be before May 15th. So I'm thinking within the next couple weeks.
And we'll talk about cool weather crops and warm weather crops and all that kind of stuff too. So.
Oh, this is great. All right, thank you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the morning, does it? Can it also be after work, or you prefer the mornings?
It doesn't matter. I don't know what a work day is like anymore. It seems like we're working around the clock now.
Yeah, that's part of the pivot too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You don't have to. You don't have to tell me. Okay.
Speaking of which, I have to jump outside. We're loading grocery bags. At 3:00, you can come to our site for groceries. It's another plug.
Okay, and
3:00. We're at 7840 South Racine.
All righty. Well, thank you guys, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Valerie. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.